quite a few minutes to find it, I'm afraid. 15 minutes, possibly 20.
No more than 10 minutes, surely. I barely missed you.
Methinks she protests too much, Poirot. What is she frightened of?
It is a question we must learn the answer to, my friend. Did you see Madame Marshall at all today?
We? That is to say, no. I said to Oakley, why, wherever can she have got to this morning? First her husband comes looking for her, and then that good-looking young man, Mr. Redfern. I always wondered, why must he go running after that woman when he has that nice, pretty wife, all of his own, didn't I, Oakley?
Yes, darling.
She can babble all she likes, but I heard that hesitation, Poirot.
Did you notice anything that might have a bearing upon the case?
Why, no, I don't think so. Just that she was always around with young Redfern. Anyone can tell you that.
Did her husband mind, do you think?
Captain Marshall is a very reserved man.
That is all the questions I have for the moment.
We're devastated. We know nothing that could help. Aren't we, Oakley?
Yes, darling.
Madame Castle.
Mr. Poirot, Colonel Weston has informed me that I am to give you my full cooperation. He suggested that I allow you access to whatever you need in the hotel, no matter how private.
I hope that does not distress you unduly, madame.
Well, my duty to the owners, but I have little choice. Here is the master key. This will unlock any door in the hotel.
Merci, madame. Can you account for your movements between 11:15 and 12 this morning?
Well, from 10 o'clock till 11:15, I was seeing to it the staff were all performing their duties. Then that the dining room was cleared and made ready for luncheon. That was until noon. It was a very ordinary morning, and until...
Quite so. Did you notice any of the guests behaving unusually?
Let me think. Mr. Redfern seemed agitated, underfoot, asking if anyone had seen Mrs. Marshall.
What time was this?
Between 10 and 10:30, I would say.
Tell me about the sandwiches and flasks of coffee prepared for the guests this morning.
Mr. Lane asked for sandwiches and coffee. He was planning on hiking, I believe. Mrs. Marshall asked for coffee only. Those were the only requests this morning.
How early are they put out on the table in the dining room?
Directly after breakfast. No later than 9:30. I wonder if you would excuse me. This has quite unsettled me, I'm afraid.
Of course, madame.
She's rattled by more than the murder.
You are correct, Hastings. The idea that I would have access to anything here in the hotel obviously includes the contents of her safe.
Think she'll do a bunk?
If she makes the... what was it you said?
Think she'll try to sneak away?
Oh, yes indeed. It is good that Colonel Weston is prepared to have her followed.
This room belongs to the beautiful Arlena Stewart, Marshall. This looks important. I will keep it in my notebook. I'll just put this in my notebook. I say, old man, are we looking for anything in particular in here?
We are indeed Hastings. We look for that which is not here.
Oh, that's a big help. Looks like ordinary bath salts. Poirot, open the lid.
I cannot, Hastings. The lid, it is screwed on most tightly.
There are red hairs caught in the bristles. No mistaking that colour.
Alena Marshall's most delightful and expensive perfume. It is the same as that which we found in the cave. Forgive the intrusion, Captain Marshall. My condolences. Forgive me, but I must impose upon you.
Carry on.
Poirot, I just saw a shadow by the balcony door. I think someone is out there listening.
Ah, well, we will let them listen, I think. Mrs. Marshall was your second wife?
Yes.
You have been married how long?
Just over 2 years.
The marriage? It was a happy one?
Certainly.
Have you any idea who might have killed your wife?
None whatever.
Had she any enemies?
Possibly.
I say.
Oh?
Don't misunderstand me. Alena was an actress. She was also a good-looking woman. She aroused a certain amount of jealousy, envy, hatred, malice.
From men as well as women?
Mostly women.
Was Mrs. Marshall previously acquainted with anyone in this hotel?
I believe she had met Mr. Redfern before, at some cocktail party.
How did you spend your time this morning?
I breakfasted downstairs at 10 minutes after 9 o'clock. After that, I went down to the bathing beach where I saw you. I had a quick bathe. Let me see. At about 20 minutes to 11, I returned here to type some letters. I typed until 10 minutes to 12. I then changed into tennis kit as I had a date to play tennis at 12.
Who else played the tennis?
Mrs. Redfern, Miss Darnley, and Mr. Gardner. I went down at 12 o'clock. Miss Darnley was there. Mr. Gardner and Mrs. Redfern arrived a few minutes later. We played for about an hour. Just as we came into the hotel afterwards, I got the news.
When was the last time you saw your wife?
9 o'clock. She was in her room opening her letters.
What was her manner? Unusual at all?
No, perfectly normal.
Did she mention at all what were the contents of the letters?
No.
You did not, pardon me, object to your wife's friendship with Monsieur Redfern?
I wasn't in the habit of criticizing my wife's conduct.
You did not protest or object in any way?
Certainly not.
Packet of lies. We overheard them arguing.
You will not deny then that Monsieur Redfern admired your wife?
He probably did. Most men did. She was a very beautiful woman.
You were persuaded there was nothing personal in the affair?
I never thought about it.
Utter rot.
Did your wife leave a will?
You know, I'm not sure.
Her solicitors?
Barkett and Applegood, Bedford Square. They handled all of her business affairs.
Was she well off?
Well, yes, her career was very successful, as I've told you. I would expect she was worth in the neighborhood of £50,000.
Then you would call your wife a rich woman?
I'll say.
I suppose she was, really. See here, Poirot. Aren't you getting a good way from the essentials of this business? What I believe or don't believe is surely not relevant to the plain fact of murder.
You do not comprehend, Captain Marshall. There is no such thing as the plain fact of murder. Murder springs 9 times out of 10 out of the character and circumstances of the murdered person. Because the victim was the kind of person he or she was, therefore was he or she murdered. Until we can comprehend fully and completely exactly what kind of person Elena Marshall was, we shall not be able to see clearly exactly the kind of person who murdered her.
Was there anything else?
Not at present, thank you.
Feel free to nose around all you like. I need some air.
I'd certainly like to see what Miss Marshall has stashed in there.
Then the combination to the box, it must be found. Trial and error will not open it.
That's a rather nasty-looking stick pin. Linda's watch. It agrees with yours exactly, Poirot.
Therefore the watch, it is correct to the second.
More green fabric. From the ashes, it looks like quite a bit was burned here.
May I put to you some questions, mademoiselle?
Of course, I'll do anything I can to help.